Welcome to another class on who are the sons of God in the Bible and the Nephilim. We've done several classes on this so far. The Bible has quite a bit to say about the sons of God and the Nephilim. In Genesis 1:6, 1 through 4, it talked about men beginning to multiply, human beings, or mankind beginning to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, it said. And Genesis 6:4 it says, and there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, and we're talking about before the flood and after the flood. Before the flood and after the flood, as you look at this chart on the wall. The wickedness that came about was from Genesis 6:1 through about 15 there, where God decided that he was very grieved at what was going on the earth, and that the propagation of angels with women. It says in verse 6 and 4, and there were giants on the earth in those days, also afterward, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, and some became mighty men of old, men of great fame. In Numbers 13:33, and this is after the flood now, and there we saw giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in their sight as grasshoppers, so we were in their sight, it says in Numbers 13:33. In Jude 1 and 6 it says, and the angels, or Jude 6 that is, and the angels who had kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. In 2 Samuel 21 and verse 20, and it says, and there was yet a battle in Gath, where was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers and 6 toes on each hand and foot. And he was born of the giant. In 2 Samuel 21 and verse 16 it says, and Ishbenob, which was of the sons of the giant, and it talks about how big his spear was and everything, was slain by David. In Job 1 and 6, and it says here, and this tells you who the sons of God were, they were angels. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. Deuteronomy 3 and 11. It names another giant. For only Og, and this is this period of time right here, this is when Moses was on the earth and given the law to Israel. For only Og, the king of Bashan, remained of the remnant of giants. Behold, his bedstead of iron was about 10 foot or 11 foot long. It says in 2 Samuel 21 verse 22, these 4 were born of the giant in Gath, and fell by the hand of David and by the hand of his servants. Now Amos also says something about the giants. Amos in 2 and verse 9 said, yet destroyed I the Amorite before them, whose height was like the height of cedars, and strong as the oaks. Yet I destroyed his fruit from above, the angels coming down, and his root from beneath, those that had become of them. Another translation says, when human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of human beings were very beautiful, and they married any of them whom they chose. And then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal. Their days shall be 120 years. That's how long it would be before the judgment came. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them, and they were the heroes of old and renown. Many people believe, and especially ancient writers, in the Talmud and the Mishnah, and the early church, what we might call church fathers, believed that the Nephilim were children of relations between the sons of God, angels, and the daughters of mankind. Christian scholars serialized that the sons of God were fallen angels, who produced with human females a possessed human males who were born children with human females, being the offspring of a partial angelic heredity. The Nephilim were considered mighty men of old who were of great fame and fear. Some of these Nephilim were actually named. Ishbi Benob. Now, Ishbi Benob, or Ishbi, in 1 Samuel 21 verse 16, his dwelling is in Nob, or his dwelling is from above or in high places. Sophie, or Saph, containing. Now, these are the brothers of Goliath, by the way. Saph or Sophie means containing, powerful, controlling, imprisoning. 1 Chronicles 20, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Sephu, in 1 Samuel 17, 4 and 40, and 2 Samuel 21, 16, 17, 18, and 22. Sephu. And then Lami. Lami means full of food. Full of food. Full of food. Now, these people were not figments of our imagination. They really lived. They really existed upon the earth. And one writer says Goliath's humongous gate was found. It says a huge gate was found in the area in the side of Gath, Goliath's hometown. Now, Gath is one of the largest and most extensive ancient ruined towns or mounds in Israel, and was settled almost continuously from the 5th millennia BC until modern times. We know that Goliath had 4 giant brothers. Joshua the 13th chapter. They were all called lords of the Philistines. Now, Israel would not allow David to go out any longer and to fight, because one of the giants almost killed him. Now, I personally believe that these giants that lived were very powerful beings. If someone is part angel or part supernatural, how much or how many supernatural traits do they carry with them? Now I saw about 9 or 10 miles from here, straight east, a Bigfoot. When I saw that thing, I did not believe in them at all. I had no room in my cranium for that animal, whatever it is. I hunted bear and lion and raccoons and foxes and things with dogs in very remote areas. I rode horses all over these mountains up here. And I'm telling you, in some of these places back in these mountains, no human being hardly ever goes there, period. And I would have thought, from the time I was very young, in 1953, till about 1985, if there was a Bigfoot in the woods someplace, that I would have seen one. So I dismissed their existence. Until I saw one. And I was in complete shock. I don't believe in evolution. I don't believe that, now I've talked, since then, I have talked to many, what we might call anthropologists, because my sighting of this Bigfoot was very valid. Number one, I didn't believe in him. Number two, this is how they rated me, I was a woodsman. I was a forester. I cut wood in the mountains. I hunted. I was a mustanger in times of old. I was a dog man. In other words, I ran dogs for lions and bear and raccoons and fox and bobcats and things. And I tagged the last lion in California. I hunted wild boar with a little .22 pistol. And bear and lion with that .22 pistol. Now, you might think I'm crazy, but I did it. I didn't need anything bigger than that. I was killing wild boar in Parkfield one time. I had another pastor with me, Dieter Bergstrasser. And I was used to shooting dangerous animals. And I had my little Smith & Wesson .22 pistol. 6-shot revolver. I loaded it and I had it in my belt. And we had these hogs kind of trapped in this great big pasture. They had gotten in there and we filled in the holes, so they got in and we were running around out there with these, there's 3 big hogs. One about 400-pound Russian wild boar with tusks coming out of the side of his jaws like knives. Another big red hog, about 500 pounds, he was a big boar. But they were all dangerous. And then a sow about 250 pounds. I took my pistol and went out there amongst them. Dieter said, I think you better go get a 30-06 or something. I said, I don't need one. I went out there, this boar, black boar, charged me. I dropped him with 1 shot. Another big boar came over there and I shot him and dropped him with 1 shot with his .22 pistol. And the sow charged at me. I shot her. She whirled around and charged again. I shot her twice and she went down. I stabbed those 2 to bleed them out. And I went to the Russian wild boar and he was up fighting. I had shot 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds. I had 2 rounds to go in that 6-shooter. I shot him again, he dropped. He got back up. I shot him again, he dropped. He was full of adrenaline. Had to jump over the fence, load my gun, and jump back in there with him. And all the time everybody's hollering at me, get out of there, get out of there, get out of there. You're going to get killed. I shot that boar 6 more times. And he wouldn't stay down. I loaded that gun 6 more times, 6 more shots. I went out there, and I was close to him. And he was charging me, and he charged, I'd shoot and drop him. He charged, I'd shoot and drop him. 6 more times I shot him, and he stayed on the ground. I took that big stabbing knife and I put his foot on the head and on his body, and I stabbed him right down to the throat into his heart. And he shot up off the ground, and I went up as high as this ceiling here, hit the ground running, and he was right after me. But he bled out. Now my sons both saw that. They saw me with lions and with bear. They saw me with raccoons and wild dogs, all of this. And when I saw this Bigfoot down here, this Sasquatch, this Nephilim, I think, I was terrorized by it. I had a .44 Magnum Smith & Wesson Model 29 loaded, sitting in my chair, right in the seat. I was driving Ace Hydraulics service truck. And we were out here taking a bath at the hot well. We had come just 2 or 3 miles. I saw the thing walking. I thought it was a man that had broke down. And I said, well, you know, Jimmy was talking. I was just listening to him. I was poking along about 5 miles an hour or less, just poking along. Just enjoying the beauty of the night up here. And I saw it walking out there, and I didn't say anything to Jimmy about it at all. I just knew that we were going to go up and then we were going to come back down. And when we come back down, this guy was probably going to cross the road there and wave us down, because he was probably broke down after someplace. Well, we went up and we came back down, and when we got down there, here the guy was crossing the road, except it wasn't a man. The thing was as tall as this ceiling almost. Probably 8 foot tall. The color gray, a kind of grayish blue, the color of deer. And it had been rolling in alkali dust, and alkali dust was coming off of its hair. See, I'm a hunter. I know what I'm seeing this thing. His hair was not long. It was not fat. It was not stalky. It was tall and thin. When I saw it, my heart just stopped, I think. I didn't know what to say or what to think, because I didn't believe in what I was seeing. Didn't believe in it. I got up, and it was only 50 yards in front of us or so. Poking along up there, I came up to the place and I stopped. I had a spotlight down because we were shooting coyotes. The spotlight was on there, and my son grabbed the spotlight and said, put the thing down, leave it alone. I asked him, I said, what did you see? And he said, what did you see? And I said, what did you see? He said, let's get out and see if it left any tracks. I said, no. Let's get out and see if we can find it. I said, no. He said, Dave, you got a .44 Magnum sitting in the seat. What's wrong with you? And I said, it's not big enough. I was frightened. Now, I am an amazing shot with a pistol, or a rifle actually, either way. Been shooting all my life. Had that .44 Magnum up here when we lived down in the middle of the valley, and I did at that time. And we had gone rabbit hunting, because the rabbits were coming in and eating all the trees, and we were shooting jackrabbits. Jackrabbits eat up a lot of trees, and they can stand up on tall hind legs and eat high and girdle a tree and kill it. And I couldn't grow anything down there because of jackrabbits, so we just started driving out, and I had my pistol and they had 22 rifles. I had the .44 Magnum pistol. Now, you may not believe this, but this is fact. A big jackrabbit took off running about 100 yards, and I pulled down on him with that pistol and I shot him, and it was like a blue explosion out of him. Hair just going everywhere. Shooting 200 grain hollow points in that .44 Magnum with 12 grains of unique behind it. Pretty fast load. Hit the ground running. My son Gary turned around to me and he said, Dad, you want me to go get a bigger gun? Now, I don't know how that rabbit lived, but I wouldn't have killed him. Didn't want to let him suffer. He wouldn't have lived very long anyway. But now that 44 Magnum didn't kill that rabbit on the first shot. I wasn't about to try to shoot that for that Bigfoot or whatever it was with that little bitty gun. Another time, Larry Goodwin was up here with us, and we were driving down the road, and jackrabbits were running. And we were by an alfalfa field down on the Snow Goose Ranch, and there was a rabbit running out there by us. And I just grabbed that pistol and rolled him with that 44 Magnum. Larry says, "Wow, can shoot. I can shoot." That Russian wild boar, you couldn't put your thumb over all the shots that I put in his head. There was 15 shots in that boar. I shoot straight. I wasn't about to take that thing on. My son did not understand what was wrong with me because he had seen me do all these things with a .22 pistol. I don't believe the thing was natural. It's not something natural. It's not a hybrid. It is not a half man, half ape or something like that. This thing, I believe, is something natural. The aura that I received from that thing was terrifying. When the spies went out into the land of Palestine, into the land of Canaan, they came back terrified. Now, I don't know what type of a hybrid these things are. As far as I know, I was the first one to ever call a Bigfoot a Nephilim. Now that a lot of people are doing that. They read my story on the internet from one of the reporters that had, or one of the researchers that had investigated and interviewed me. My son was with me. Now, I didn't believe what I saw, but I couldn't denounce it because I saw it. I know that it was something that was not normal. I know what a fox runs like. I know what a rabbit runs like, what a deer, an antelope, a wild horse, a bear, elk, bighorn sheep, antelope. I know how they move. This thing didn't move like a man. It walked with such steady gait out across that rough land. I was just amazed seeing this guy out there walking like that. And walking fast. Took about 2 steps across that road. Long steps. Tremendous animal or something. It got out there in sagebrush that was not very tall, and it just disappeared. Now, my son to this very day believes it was an optical illusion. Both of us had an optical illusion. I saw an optical illusion that was a color of deer with dust coming off of it, alkali dust coming off it back. That was an optical illusion. He had a friend that saw a Bigfoot. I had a Bigfoot encounter one time, and his friend was telling him, "Well, I don't think you'll believe me. What about what this Bigfoot?" And he said, "Well," after she told him, he said, "I saw one too if they exist. If they exist, I saw one." That's all he was saying. I know what I saw, but I don't know exactly what it is. It is something great. It's something big. We don't find these things dead. How hard was it to kill Goliath and Omni, Lami, Seppi, Ishbenob? You just didn't go out and kill one like you were going to kill another man. They are hard to kill because they are supernatural. They have supernatural attributes. If, indeed, this Bigfoot does exist, which I know it does, but if it is a progeny of angelic and something else, it is, maybe it can go between dimensions, I don't know. Angels do. I think it takes supernatural power to kill these, at least partially supernatural beings. What are they? What were the Bigfoot? What are the Bigfoot? What were the Nephilim of old? Now, since 1/3 of the angels and 1/3 of the demon spirits went with Lucifer when he rebelled, according to the book of Revelation, if there's only so many of them, how can they overcome 2/3 of the angels and 2/3 of the spiritual forces and mankind? How can they overcome all of that? Except that they increase their numbers somehow. We know that according to the book of Enoch, Enoch names these beings that came down here. He says here, and it came to pass when the sons of men had increased, that in those days they were born of them beautiful and fair daughters. And the angels, the sons of heaven, saw them and desired them, and they said to one another, Come, let us choose for ourselves wives from the children of mankind, and let us beget for ourselves children. Evidently they can do that. We know from Genesis, the 3rd chapter and verse 15, that Satan is going to do that. He shall have an heir, he shall have a seed on this earth. And he will be Antichrist. Now, Enoch begins to name these angels that came down and married women. And Samaja, who was their leader, said to them, I fear that you may not wish this deed to be done, and that I alone will pay for this great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us all swear an oath and bind one another with curses, so that not to alter this plan, but to carry out this plan effectively and efficiently. Then they all swore together and all bound one another with curses to it. Altogether it was 120 of them, or 200 of them, that is. And they came down to Ardis, which is also the summit, Mount Hermon. And they called the mountain Hermon because on it they swore and bound one another with curses. And these were the names of the leaders. Samaza, who was the leader, Yorabika, Ramiel, Kakabiel, Tamiel, Ramiel, Daniel, Ezekiel, Barekiel, Ezel, Admaros, Ananel, Sakiel, Samasiel, Satiel, Turiel, Yomiel, and Araziel. These are the leaders of the 200 angels, of all the others with them. And they took wives for themselves, and everyone chose for himself one each. And they began to go into them, in other words, they began to have sex with them. And they taught them charms and spells, and they showed them the cutting of roots and of trees. And they became pregnant and bore large giants, and their height was tall. These devoured all the toil of mankind. Mankind was farmers. By the way, you didn't eat animals at that time. It was forbidden to eat animal. To kill an animal, it was a death sentence. You killed a living soul. All animals have souls, according to the Hebrew. They have basar, flesh. They have nephesh, souls, and they have ruah, spirit. Now it says that in detail. And these devoured all the toil of mankind until they were unable to sustain them. Remember what some of the names of these beings were? Big people. Og. Thick, wide, broad, giant. That's what Og means. Big. And big things take a lot of food. They devoured all the toil of the vegetation of the mankind. And the giants turned against them in order to devour men. So they ate people, they became cannibals, so to speak. And they became vampires, they drank their blood. Remember, the Bible says don't eat the blood, don't drink the blood. And they began to sin against birds and animals and against reptiles and against fish, and they devoured one another's flesh and drank the blood. The earth was full of violence, it said, as it said in the book of Genesis also. What a mess for God to clean up. And he did it with the flood. And by the flood, by the way, the flood was universal. The flood had to be universal. Of course, the land was only, it was Godwana or Pangea, land here and water every place else. So God completely flooded the whole earth with water, all of the earth with water. Up above the height of these things, and the earth was cleansed, but it says that in those days they were the Nephilim and also afterwards. And we find them in the land of Canaan. And we know that in the land of Canaan, these people became very grossly wicked and evil, and all types of sexual immorality in that land. There was Sodom and Gomorrah. And all the 5 cities there where Lot went. All of this evil was taking place upon the earth. And God rained down fire from heaven and tore up those cities and all of the immorality of it. I don't know of one single solitary person that actually saw a Bigfoot that was not horrified of it. I have talked to other people, and every one that I have talked to so far, it was a tremendous amount of, they felt some type of aggressive power there. I've known woodsmen that wouldn't go back in the woods again. I didn't want to go back down there for a while. We did have one other encounter down there with my son where a 55-gallon barrel went through the air about 50 yards, which I don't know anything to control a 55-gallon barrel through the air for about 50 yards, except maybe this thing. That's my story of Nephilim. The Bible has a lot to say about it also. I think these things are terrible. I think they're terrible, full of terror. I talked to the Oregon Bigfoot Research. I talked to Monster Quest. I had quite a few conversations with people from Monster Quest that they showed on television. And I asked them, why was I afraid of this thing? And they said, with telepathy, they will pick out the alpha person and they will terrify that person, and they got everybody else whipped. I know of an Indian went up there that had a 30-30 Winchester rifle. The rifle, not the short carbine. And he thought he had shot the thing 7 or 9 times, however many bullets that long rifle held. He took off running. Dropped the rifle. Went back up and found his rifle where he was. And he thought he felt the recoil of all of the shots. And all the live shells were still laying on the ground. He had pumped every one of them out without ever firing one shot. He thought he felt the recoil. I wasn't about to drop a hammer on that thing with that 44 Magnum. Not about to. All I wanted to do was flee. I talked to one of the other Indians, actually the chief, Hank Patterson. I was privileged to know him. He was 100 years old or so when I knew him. I knew him when he had children, probably 70 when he had these children, 30, 40 years before. And I talked to him about this. He said they've always been here. He said they live up there in Ice House Canyon. He said don't bother them, leave them alone. Don't do anything aggressive to them at all, because you can't conquer that thing. You're not strong enough. There was a family down there of Indians down here at Lower McDath, and they said that they saw a Sasquatch coming there 2 or 3 different times and grab one of their goats. As the goat screaming, they went out there and they saw this thing taken off with their animal screaming. They left and never went back. They don't like to go down there. My wife still has a doctor to go down there after dark. She doesn't want to be there after dark. That's Bigfoot time. People kid me about that. My sons kid me. They got an 8-foot tall silhouette of a Bigfoot out here in front of my property. Well, I saw the thing. It really exists. Mark Havens called me from New York here a week or 2 ago and asked me, he said, Dr. Jim, he said, you really saw that thing, didn't you? And I said, yes, I did. He said, my kids asked me about that. He said, I told him, he says, Dr. Jim says he saw the thing, he saw the thing. Yeah, I saw it. Is it a Nephilim? Is it one of these biblical things? Possibly. I think so. What's going to happen? Well, the Bible says that in the end times we're going to have famines, and we're going to have disease, and we're going to have earthquakes. We had an earthquake here the other day that was so strong I never saw anything like it before in my life. I went through the 7.9 earthquake, the Tehachapi earthquake. When I was in Bakersfield, I saw all the water thrown out of the canal, fish flopping all over the ground. But I didn't see anything with the violence that this earthquake we had. I was asleep in the middle of the night in there, and the bed was bouncing up and down. The bed moved 10 inches across the floor with me in it. My car moved 6 inches across sideways in the garage. Every appliance in the house was moved. Cracks all over the place. It was just like somebody had a jackhammer underneath this house, bouncing it off the foundation. Like a jackhammer. I didn't think it was ever going to quit. Well, in the end times, many things will happen. Maybe Satan will produce more of these things to enhance his armies. I do not know. But they are real. The giants of the Bible, Goliath and Og, Lami, Sepi, Saph, Bene, Nob, all of these really existed. Doesn't name the father of them, just said he existed. Was he this powerful giant of a thing like a Bigfoot? Possibly. They're intelligent, I can tell you that much. Intelligent. There you have it. The rest of the story. Do with it as you may. feed upon it, think about it. Our Heavenly Father, we send this message for your honor, for your glory. Use it in every way. Use it to let people know that there's really supernatural things in this world. That the Bible is a real book. The miracles in the Bible are true. The powerful deeds in the Bible are true. The giants of the Bible are true. The flood was true. The division of the earth, confusion of the languages, all of those things are really true. And Father, please forgive me where I failed you. In Jesus' name.